Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're unpacking a massive, really fundamental shift that's happening right beneath our feet in the corporate world. We're moving way past the era of viewing AI as just, a neat productivity tool or some shiny new app. Today, AI has become the literal operating system of the modern enterprise. And honestly, that brings up a huge existential question for us. If AI is your new operating system, who actually owns it? We're going to be looking at the comprehensive framework established by DrPinnacle to really understand how to validate, secure, and truly own your AI systems.
Okay, let's dive into this because this quote really hits the nail on the head. For a long time, the corporate world kind of treated AI like a fun experiment, a little chatbot here, a predictive algorithm there. But guys, that era is absolutely over. The stakes have shifted from just playing around to building strategic, sovereign infrastructure. Think about it. If you're feeding your company's proprietary data, your trade secrets, your core workflows into a model, well, that model isn't just software anymore. It is the beating heart of your business operations. And you definitely cannot afford to have a weak, unsecured, or rented heart. So here's our blueprint for today using the DrPinnacle framework. We'll start with AI as the modern OS, tackle the big hosted versus private AI debate, and then hit the pillars of trustworthy systems. After that, we'll quickly dive into validating, securing, and continuously evaluating your infrastructure. Let's get right into it.
Section 1, AI as the modern enterprise OS. Because look, when an operating system fails, the whole house of cards collapses. So how do we ensure our foundation is structurally sound? Well, it starts by totally redefining what trust actually means. In enterprise infrastructure, trustworthy isn't just some fluffy corporate buzzword. It's a mathematical certainty that we literally have to engineer. The DrPinnacle equation puts it like this. Trustworthy AI equals accurate plus reliable plus safe plus secure plus aligned with business and human values. If you remove even one of those variables, the entire system flips from being a massive asset to a massive liability. You need the whole shebang functioning perfectly together to achieve real AI sovereignty.
Moving on to Section 2, hosted versus private AI. And this right here is the absolute most critical strategic debate happening in boardrooms right now.
It asks the ultimate question. Who actually controls your corporate intelligence? On one side, we've got proprietary, hosted models. Think ChatGPT, Anthropic's Claude, or Google's Gemini. They are incredibly powerful, super easy to access. But, and it's a big but, here's the massive trade-off: vendor lock-in and a total loss of absolute sovereignty. When you rely solely on hosted models, your company's strategic intelligence is basically living on someone else's servers. Now flip that around. Open source and self-hosted models. Using ecosystems like Hugging Face or Ollama, these allow you to host models right on-premise or in your own private hybrid clouds. That is true AI sovereignty. It guarantees data residency, meaning your most sensitive, top-secret information never actually leaves your controlled environment. You own the infrastructure, you own the fine-tuning, and most importantly, you control your destiny. And this brilliantly illustrates exactly how to take back that control. It's DrPinnacle's 9-step end-to-end practice framework. Notice that it doesn't start with writing code. It starts with strategy, defining your use cases, your success metrics, and your actual risk appetite. Then it moves into governing your data and making that make-or-break choice between building or selecting a model. From there, the framework guides us through the real core engineering, validating, benchmarking, enforcing those safety checks, and securing the model, all the way to deployment and continuous monitoring. This whole flow, it's your ultimate guide to wresting control away from third-party vendors and building a real powerhouse of an internal capability. Which brings us to Section 3, building trustworthy AI systems. Let's look at the core architectural pillars you need to establish that absolute control. So there are 4 totally non-negotiable pillars here. First, you need absolute reliability to prevent errors. Second, strict safety protocols to keep toxic outputs at 0. Third, you've got to explicitly map your system to risk and compliance frameworks, things like the EU AI Act or the NIST AI Risk Management Framework. And fourth, balancing all of this actually has to drive real business impact. Getting these 4 pillars right creates a sustainable competitive advantage. It's how you prove your private AI is actually generating value and doing it securely. Section 4, validating and benchmarking models. Because it's one thing to say you have a reliable, self-hosted AI, it's a completely different ballgame to prove it mathematically. You can't just throw a few prompts at it and say, yeah, looks good to me. You need hard scientific foundations. Enter the Pac-Bayes generalization bound. Now, I know the math looks a little intense, but the so what for your business is actually quite simple. This formula provides a mathematical guarantee of how your model is going to perform on data it has literally never seen before. It calculates calibration and expected risk probabilistically. So instead of guessing, organizations can confidently stand up and say, we mathematically know exactly how this model will behave in the real world. But testing that performance requires some seriously rigorous, multi-layered benchmarking. You don't just rely on a single test. It's like a giant puzzle. You start by layering standard general knowledge tests, like MMLU or HelloSwag. Then you add domain-specific benchmarks that are tailored for your exact industry, whether that's finance or legal. Next up, you need custom benchmarks designed specifically for your unique enterprise tasks. And finally, continuous live evaluations running right in production. Organizations are using paired statistical tests and calculating weighted multiple benchmarks so they can objectively track their sovereign model's progress over time.
All right, Section 5, Securing AI Infrastructure. Let's shift our focus to the really rigorous cybersecurity protocols you're going to need.
Because once you've built and proven this incredibly powerful private AI, guess what? You become a massive target. So the crucial point is that securing an AI system is vastly different from your traditional IT security. We're looking at a way wider threat surface here. You've got data security and privacy, obviously, but then there's model security. You're actively protecting against extraction attacks where an adversary literally tries to steal your proprietary weights. Then there's prompt security, defending against injection attacks or data exfiltration, where the AI is basically tricked into spilling your secrets. And on top of all that, you have to maintain relentless infrastructure and supply chain security to protect the exact data sets your model was trained on.
To combat those complex vectors, we rely on formal scientific methods like differential privacy. At its core, this mathematical formula ensures that an adversary cannot somehow reverse engineer your model to figure out if a specific person's data was used to train it. It is the ultimate mathematical guarantee for data residency, and it fundamentally protects against what we call membership inference risks. This right here, this is exactly how you can confidently feed highly sensitive, top-secret corporate data into an AI model without losing sleep. And, right alongside privacy is safety. We evaluate the scientific foundations of AI safety using some very specific metrics. We measure the toxicity or harm rate to see exactly what percentage of outputs are harmful. We calculate the jailbreak success rate to track how many total hack attempts were actually successful against the model. And we mathematically map alignment through preference optimization, basically estimating the probability that a model will align with human intent without causing any harm. But here's the catch. You don't just calculate these numbers once. You relentlessly red team your datasets to stress test these exact formulas over and over again. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how these abstract, complex mathematical concepts ultimately translate into a live executive dashboard. When you're running a private, trustworthy AI, you aren't just looking at generic, boring server uptime stats. You are actively, constantly monitoring toxicity rates, jailbreak attempts, and tracking data and concept drift in real time. This dashboard literally becomes your sovereign command center. Finally, Section 6, Continuous Evaluation and Monitoring. Let's talk about the operational phase. Because building a secure, sovereign AI isn't some one-and-done IT project. It is a living, breathing system. Let's move to Enginance and see how this builds into an ongoing operational loop. Live production data constantly feeds back into your model, generating outputs that are heavily scrutinized by both human and automated evaluators. That scrutiny then triggers alerts, updates your live dashboards, and creates a continuous feedback loop to actually retrain the model. This relentless, never-ending cycle ensures that as the real world changes, your private AI operating system adapts safely right alongside it. And the good news? You don't have to build all of this from scratch. The open source and enterprise ecosystem out there is just massive. You can leverage tools like Hugging Face Evaluate for assessing models, Llama Guard for your baseline safety, PromptFu or Lakera to lock down and secure against targeted prompt attacks, and platforms like LangFuse and Arise for continuous monitoring and tracing. These are the exact instruments that empower you to maintain total, uncompromising control over your own intelligence. Which brings us to DrPinnacle's bottom line mantra. If you want AI to safely deliver value at scale, if you truly want to own your enterprise operating system, you absolutely must follow this directive. Validate rigorously. Benchmark objectively. Enforce safety. Secure relentlessly. Monitor continuously. That, my friends, is the absolute blueprint for true AI sovereignty. I want to leave you with a final, slightly provocative thought to reflect on today.
As we've seen, deploying AI isn't just about renting access to an API anymore. It's about building and securing the very foundation of your business's future. If AI validation, security, and operation must be a continuous, tightly controlled cycle, ask yourself right now, who is truly monitoring your corporate intelligence? Are you in control, or are you handing the keys over to someone else? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep learning, keep questioning, and start building smarter.